So one of the viewers brought up a good point as far as pressing calculations. So whenever you're actually using, well, let's just get this for instance, a 1/2 inch rammer. If you press it at 6,000, 5,000, 4,000, that's not exactly the force that you're using. The reason why I say take it up to 3,000 is just like a reference, because if you don't have a gauge or you don't have pressing calculations and you don't know how to calculate them, you'll never know exactly what the pressure is. A 1/2 inch rammer, it tells you right here for a rocket and then for a comet. So in this case, it's going to be a comet. So if I was using a 1/2 inch comet tool, that's the surface area, 0.196 of an inch. If I'm pressing it at 1,000 PSI, which is going to be reflected on the gauge, it's only actually pressing it at 196 pounds of force. If I increase that to 1,500 PSI, it increases it to 294 pounds. So that's how much force this little guy, meaning the surface area right here, is pressing on the actual black powder. So for the 1 inch, which right now I'm at it's about a little bit over an inch, but we'll say it's an inch. So it's 0.785 of an inch. At 1,000 PSI, I'm pressing it at 785. So because I took it up to 4,000, what I would say is you can double that and double that number there, and that'll give you how many actual pounds of force you're putting down on it. Because if I do 1,000, 1,500 and just keep going, it's going to keep changing. But I know that at 1,500 PSI, I can double that and get that double right there of that number. So even with me pressing it at 2,000, 3,000, I can still get into the 1,000s at least for the pressure. So that's what you want to know pretty much for the pucks, but they're not super important because you're not actually pressing these to launch a rocket or anything like that. This is only used for breaking it up into granulated black powder like that and like this stuff right here. So the reason that I didn't mention these earlier because it's not super important, because these are just black powder pucks that they're used for lift and all that. Now when it comes to actually, you know, making rockets like the Cueto rockets with the 5/8 inch tool, you do want to follow this because these are the calculations used for the tooling at a minimum. That way you make sure that you don't have any KATOs or anything like that. So that's why I wanted to bring this up. I appreciate the viewer that brought it up to me. I just wanted to explain that to you guys. That way you kind of know more or less what I was talking about with the pressing calculations.